Mike 500 here, and today I'm working on a 2002 Ford Focus ZX3. The brake lights stay on anytime it's not in park, and the ignition switch is in the on position. And troubleshooting it, what I've done is remove the center console. I'm not going to do a video on that because there's enough other ones that are of great quality. But it is 2 Phillips screws in the cup holders where the armrest attached, 2 Phillips screws there, and then there's one in the center right in front of the rear cup holder. Once you have that removed, you'll need the emergency brake all the way up to do that. This is what you're going to see here, and obviously your shifter here. It's got 4 bolts, and those are going to be 10mm bolts. Once those 4 are removed, you'll be able to move this shifter around and it'll be loose. Before you take it completely loose, there's a wiring harness here. Just squeeze, pinch, and pull, and that'll come apart there. After you've done that, you're going to have to separate the linkage from the shifter, which all you need is a flathead screwdriver, just a little bit of pressure, and that'll pop right off of that. From there, you'll have to separate the linkage from the shifter at the front here, and just giving that enough upward pressure should do the trick. Once you got that apart, you'll actually be able to look inside, and you'll see when you press the shifter button, it hits that little white tab that sticks out. That's your park shift interlock switch. We're going to flip this around the other side to the passenger side, and that same switch, if you can see it, there's a solenoid, I believe, right here. When that gets pressed in, then you'll actually be able to shift. You also have the override right here that activates this by pressing that in so you can shift. What I'm going to try and do is disable that temporarily so that we can get the brake lights to be off when they're supposed to. So once you got this separated here, harder to do with one hand than two, I'm going to remove these tabs, just a little bit of pressure, that'll pop off. Then you also have one here in the front center. Once you have that loose, on the side here you're going to see where there is a light wired in to show you what gear you're in when you're moving at night. You can give that a 90-degree turn counterclockwise, and that bulb should separate. Once you've done that, you can actually lift this up and give it a 90-degree turn as well. What that does is, and if you look down in there on top of the park shift interlock, you have a Torx screw there. That appears to be the only screw holding this module in place. So I'm hoping that once I can get that loose, this will come up. I believe there's just a pin right here. I'm going to look at it from underneath. You can see that just a pin going through there. You can see the bottom of the screw right here, and just another pin holding it in place here. I believe there could be a screw there. We're going to just look through that hole. There is it's not focusing, but there is a screw right there. See if we can get it to focus. Screws in it, one in the front, one in the back. On the back side right here, took a little bit of effort to get it out because it doesn't have the right amount of space to actually remove it easily. I don't think it's intended to be removed. Mostly, if you had to replace that, what you're probably going to have to do is replace the entire assembly, yeah, or at least the electronics on it. This switch is directly wired into the plug right here, and so are your lighting and overdrive switches if you have that. course, those run through the bottom right there. There really isn't a way to disassemble the whole unit easily, and it was not something I was going to attempt. But this is the whole switch. We're looking at it from the from the reverse side here. Normally this would be sticking out toward the passenger side. And there's the factory original part numbers on it, 7153150C. And this is from 2002, March of 2002, according to the date stamped on it. I believe this switch here is the faulty problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right on the side of the assembly right here, so it's out of the way of all the moving parts, hopefully, and plug everything back in, and we're going to attempt to shift, and we're going to see if the brake lights will actually turn off when they're supposed to and only turn on when you press the pedal. That being said, if that is the problem, what I'm going to have to do is replace the whole assembly to get it working properly, because it's not a great idea to override a safety switch. I would not recommend doing this other than for testing purposes. I wouldn't go driving around like this. You take that at your own risk, just because it is a safety switch. And if all that works, then we're in business. I just need to replace the assembly and everything's golden, and the lights should work properly. Now, some of the other things that I did see while searching around was that quite frequently the what it seems to be referred to as the umbilical cord in the rear hatch, which this has a rear hatch, it's a hatchback, two-door, or in the wagons as well. The umbilical cord, the wires tend to, over time, break, become brittle, break, crack, and will either tear apart completely, or just the plastic casing will wear thin and become brittle and start shorting everything out. I did check that on mine. Lucky for me, there's only one wire that has the cracked sheathing, and it's not touching anything else. At some point I'm going to have to get in there sooner than later and attempt to heat shrink it or something else with it to make sure that it's not going to short out in the future. Okay, so with that switch removed, our shifter is in park, which you can't tell because we got this turned around here, and I'm not at this time going to reassemble the linkage. Actually, I can. It's easy enough to remove. Just snaps right back in place. So with the linkage in place, everything's in park, it's locked up, the harness is connected, the ignition switch is in the on position, and I know there's a little bit of a reflection, but the brake lights are off. Really hard to see, but the brake lights are off. So we're going to come back over here, and still in the on position, we're going to step on the brake, and I don't know if you can see it, we do get brake lights. So we're going to go ahead and take that. Now I've let go of the brake, so the brake lights are off, but I'm still holding the shift button here. And we're going to go ahead and switch that into reverse, neutral, drive. And that's where I spend most of my time, is going forward. And you notice brake lights are not on anymore. And they do come on and work properly. So I believe we've just found the problem. Literally, as we're sitting here and I'm filming, found the problem. So we're going to try a couple other ones, reversed. Still working properly. So that tells me that is the problem there. Now, of course, I don't need to be stepping on the brake anymore because the interlock's been disconnected. So as soon as I shift, it goes. So don't be like some of the other Chrysler models with the faulty shifter and think you got it in park when you don't. Shouldn't happen on one of these. That switch is the problem. And just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and reach in here. We're going to try and activate that solenoid and look to the rear and see what happens here. So you can see that when we press that button there, see what happens. We're in park, nothing, right? Nothing again. No brake lights on, no nothing. Now we're going to try the little white switch here on this side. You can see that down there. And once we step on the brake, it allows it to be released. We're going to hold that in. I see brake lights. We're going to let go. Brake lights turn off. So that tells me that 100% sure that this module right here, the park shift interlock, is the problem on this vehicle. And that's Mike 5. And this is Mike 500. That was how to, or at least one way to fix your brake light staying on a 2002 Ford Focus or similar model, where the brake lights are on only when you're in drive, neutral, reverse, any gear other than park. And that's it. So we've solved the problem. I haven't looked up any part numbers yet because I plan to just go down to a junkyard and find a working one, hopefully, and just install that in place of the one I have. You may be able to get that one part separate. I did show the part number on there, and if you can, let me know. But otherwise, good luck to you. I know there's a couple different reasons that would cause that, but this one here is the one that looks like is the problem with mine and maybe with yours. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know in the comments, subscribe, like, and we'll talk to you again soon.